Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back for more Mega Man X. And we're getting down to the end of the game here. We only got 2 more stages to get through until we're finished. So let's get back on the road to the third part of Sigma's Fortress. And I believe I mentioned last time we got together here that this is going to be the easiest of the 4 Sigma stages. Well, excluding Sigma himself. I keep referring to this as 4 Sigma stages. It's technically only 3. The 4th one is just Sigma. But that being said, it'll be fun when we get there. And here we have Armored Armadillo again, and of course I forgot to not charge my Buster for this. That's alright. So once again we have to contend with the whole he doesn't like getting hit by things. We just gotta shoot him where we can here. Again, I could make this trivial by shooting off his armor. In fact, why don't I do that just so you guys get a chance to see that. So if I'm gonna equip the Electric Spark here real quick, I'm gonna shoot him with that. And it doesn't matter if he blocks it with armor or not, it just completely knocks his armor off entirely, and it's actually kind of funny. Because now he's just Armadillo. He also can no longer block my charged shots. And now we just get into this repeating motion of me shooting him in the face while he's jumping around and doing Lord knows whatever he wants to do here. And he's just a cakewalk now, you can just kind of muscle him down here really quick. And now that he's vulnerable when he's rolling, it's even more trivial. I just like to keep shooting lemons at him just because it's fun, and now he can't dodge any of them or block any of them, so... He is still going to be getting in my way, unfortunately, it looks like. Alright, there we go. Not too bad. I guess I'll show you guys some of the fights that get different or just easier when you have a certain weapon equipped. That's most of them are all in this area, too, actually. Conveniently enough. So yeah, there you saw Armored Armadillo, absolutely a cakewalk if you have the Spark, which, I mean, you would by the time you're at this part, because you have to have all the Maverick weapons to get to this part of the game anyway. This part's a little tricky. I think you can reach that health pickup if you use the shotgun ice sled little deal, but I guess we don't really need to get it anymore. I could have just dashed him over there, I suppose, too. Alright, here we go. So this will be not Boomer, he's weak to Boomerang Cutter. This is going to be Sting Chameleon. And just because I don't feel like dealing with him for 20 minutes, we're just going to switch to the Boomerang Cutter and make him a trivial fight. As soon as he's done with his little camouflage episode here. He's a little harder to hit when he's in the air like that because the cutter doesn't fire correctly. And what I mean by that is, when you're on the ground it fires upward, but when you're in the air it fires downward. So it's really hard to hit him when he's above you if it's out of range. I'm just going to get out of the way here. So as you can see, every time he gets hit by that, it just completely resets his pattern. And he also tends to not camouflage as much or at all when he's getting hit by that, so it turns him into a cakewalk. So there's that out of the way. That's already 2 more down in the span of, what, 3 minutes? Yeah. Not difficult. Not difficult at all. Here's a nice part where we can refill some weapon energy here. I'm actually going to do that with the cutter, believe it or not. As soon as I can fire it properly. There we go. And I'm going to get some of my energy back with the... Oh, come on. There we go. Perfect. And I actually don't remember who's next. I think it's... Oh, it's Spark Mandrill. Let's get our trusty, rusty shotgun ice. I'm going to show you guys just how ridiculously easy this guy is if you have the shotgun ice. Yep. It really is that easy. It's a little bit ridiculous. Timing it right, a little tricky because you can't fire at him right away again after he breaks out of it. Otherwise he won't freeze, but as you can see it just completely nullifies any resistance he might offer. It's absolutely ridiculous. That is my preferred method of fighting him, just because, as you saw previously, he's just an absolute big pain in my neck and I don't like it. And we're going underwater. You all know what that means. I think we only have 1 more boss to deal with, don't we? I think he's the last one. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. Come on, get out of my way. I'm trying to get the power up over here. Of course, we got another freaking fish. There we go. And I'm going to refill my Boomerang Cutter first. I think it transfers some reserve energy to the shotgun ice if it's not equipped. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly how that works. Come on. Let me go. Thank you. Because this level is so short and I'm just kind of plowing through these bosses one after the other here, we're probably just going to roll 3 and 4 into one episode and call it the finale. It might go a little longer than the previous iterations, but something tells me y'all will be okay with that. So I'm going to show you what happens when you fire the boomerang cutter at Launch Octopus. You only need to hit him with it 3 times, and then off go his tentacles. As I mentioned, the boomerang cutter is not his weakness. He does not take additional damage from it, but once you cut his tentacles off, this is all he does. He just stands here and fires those little pathetic missiles at you, which, as long as you stay in front of him and keep firing lemons, he can't actually hit you. He still jumps around a little bit, but he doesn't fire the little seeker fish missiles any longer, and he doesn't do the life-draining cyclone deal. So, again, another example of a weapon absolutely trivializing a boss right here. I mean, it's a nice mechanic, I think, but at the same time, it's like, if you really want to make this not a challenge whatsoever, that's how you can do it. And yeah, he just dies to the lemons here. No big deal. I much prefer dealing with him in that manner because Launch Octopus is another big pain. Launch Octopus, Sting Chameleon, and Spark Mandrill are my 3 least favorite Mavericks to fight in this game. They all have something about them that just makes them annoying or just difficult to fight in general. We're actually going to go with the Chameleon Sting here and dash across this. So we can dash over the spikes, no problem, it won't kill us. And then just plow through all that nonsense because I don't want to deal with it. Oh, there's one more. We got Flame Mammoth still. And here's another example of somebody who has something altered with him if you cut his trunk off with the boomerang cutter. So as you see, we're making pretty liberal use of the same weapon here on a number of these bosses. And that actually is ironic, too, because the final boss of this particular area is also weak to the boomerang cutter. So you make a lot of use of boomerangs in this level, if you decided you wanted to do that. I'm just going to cut his trunk off. There you go. Now he can't fire tar at me any longer. Just to show you guys what happens when you do that. It's not really going to make that big of a difference. The whole tar thing was never that big of a deal to begin with. I just think it's funny how that interacts with him. We're just going to fire Storm Tornadoes at him. You see one of those hit him, usually hits him twice, so it just absolutely shreds him. That'll do it for him, I think. Oh, maybe not. One more. There we go. So yeah, that's what, total of 3 different bosses that have their mechanics changed as what's getting hit by a boomerang. Kind of interesting. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Metal Blade from Mega Man 2, because technically speaking, only one Robot Master is supposed to be weak to any given weapon. But the Metal Blade, for whatever reason, in Mega Man 2 is really good against like 3 or 4 different bosses, including Metal Man himself, which I think is hilarious. So this thing here is called D-Rex, if I'm not mistaken. It's this 2-part floating tanky majigger guy here who likes to fall on top of you. And every time he smacks against the wall like that, he actually does a bunch of damage and will knock you off the wall. He does get it quite a bit quicker as this fight progresses too, and you just gotta kind of jump through him where you can. And then he does this nonsense here where he shoots these big ol' energy blasts. Thankfully, it's not too difficult to dodge. It's another one of those war of attrition kind of deals. I could be using his weakness, which, again, is the boomerang cutter. In fact, I might have to if he keeps doing this much damage to me, because I keep getting caught in that. I was hoping I could do all these fights without having to resort to weakness weapons, but this might be the time where that trend is finished, unfortunately. Whoa, geez, that could have been really bad. And it's continuing to get bad. Would you quit knocking me off the wall, please? That's not very nice. I should just charge up a shot here. Yeah, the fact that he knocks me around so much is, you know what, I'm just going to let him kill me and we'll use his weakness next time. I thought I could do it. I was wrong. It's not that he's impossible or unpredictable. He can definitely be worked down if you use the proper methods, but because I'm so I'm not used to fighting him without his weakness, so I'm just going to use it. We don't deal with him pretty quick anyway. Sigma, on the other hand, is going to be probably nothing but weakness weapons, just because he's freaking Sigma and he's the final boss, and he's not easy. I lied. The first form of him is easy, the second form not so much. Would you knock it off? That is so annoying. As you can see, the boomerang cutter just cuts him to shreds, no pun intended. You can kind of trick him into closing his maw over you like that when you're sitting in that like that, but it's really, you want to be careful because obviously he can slam into you like that. One more hit and we got him. There we go. So yeah, that's actually a really interesting boss. I wouldn't mind taking the time to try to fight against him properly with just the X-Buster, but again, as I said, it's not, right now is neither the time nor the place for that, so... that being said, we are 10 minutes in and we're done with the third Sigma stage, so that just leaves Sigma himself. So rather than cutting it here and continuing on next time, we're just going to go into it. This will be the finale, ladies and gentlemen. And we don't need to worry about refilling sub-tanks because we can actually do it straight from this area, so we're going to jump right into it, and I'll show you that trick here really in a second. And we are going to want all 4 of our sub-tanks filled for Sigma, obviously. You'll see I have one empty one because I had to use one during Rang to Bangda a couple chapters ago. I'm going to charge up my Buster here and switch to the Rolling Shield, which, as you recall, is really useful for taking out tiny enemies. And the nice thing is you have these little wormy guys that spawn out of these holes, and they drop health and weapon pickups on a very, very gratuitous basis. So all I had to do is stand here and let them walk into me. That was a free up, actually. And that's it. That's my 4th sub-tank already full. Neat little trick. So the nice thing too is if you fight Sigma and lose and start all the way back over here again, then you can just refill right there and be ready to go again. And that includes refilling your weapon energy too. That being said, we're actually going to switch to Shotgun Ice as I slide down the wall here. So there's 3 different bosses we need to encounter with the Sigma area here. So here we have Sigma himself, accompanied by what appears to be his robot doggo. He's very impressed we made it here by ourselves. I would not rob my pet of that pleasure. So he's very confident in his pupper's ability here. Technically, he's the betrayer. Do you think he understands that? Maybe not. He's Maverick, so... Should you live, I'll be waiting for you, he says. So we gotta take on Sigma's pupper. I believe his name is Velgauder or Velgarder, something to that effect. He's a little bit annoying. He just jumps around really fast and is... meh. I mean, he's not terribly difficult, honestly, but the Shotgun Ice makes mincemeat of him. Because even if you miss the first shot, it bounces off the wall and hits him anyway. And there, he's already dead. So we're going to switch to the Electric Spark for Sigma himself. And this first form of Sigma is actually a little bit of a joke, unfortunately. He's not difficult. I don't necessarily need to use the Spark on him, but it just speeds things up a little bit. I see why Zero counted on you. You're almost as good as I was. Well, I guess that may be true. The time of your destruction has arrived. And here we have, ultimately, the first encounter with Sigma in the series. And, yep, he has a freaking lightsaber. So the thing with Sigma, he'll jump up the walls and try to get to you. But if you just stick to the walls and like fire as you're jumping down, he has a really hard time hitting you. Because he just has he doesn't have any ranged weapons of any description. He just has that lightsaber. So if you time it correctly, he doesn't actually ever hit you. Which is nice. Unlike his pupper, who has a potential to hit you even when you're trying to jump around and stuff. But the reason why he jumps along the wall like that is because that way you can't hide from him by just jumping up the wall like you can with some other bosses. Oops, he just hit me. That's annoying. So if you lock into a pattern like this, he won't hit you. In fact, I know some of his battle animations look like in terms of like the sprites, what happens when he tries to attack you and stuff, but I tend to not see them very often. So for example, if you're actually on the ground and he comes at you, he'll actually just swing his lightsaber at you. Does a ton of damage, as you might imagine. He'll actually will occasionally, if you're on the ground and firing at him, he'll put up his lightsaber like that and block your attacks and deflect them, Jedi style. His lightsaber, by the way, actually has a name. It is referred to as the Z Saber, and that is not the last time we'll be seeing that. Oh, jeez. Okay, so I'm screwing up a little bit here. That's alright, because I got him. And now we move into the final iteration, the third of 3 Sigma battles. And you see all this up to Sigma is his head, but that just kind of floats up on top of this giant apparatus thing here, which looks very much imposing and is very dangerous. So this particular boss's weakness is the rolling shield. And as you might imagine, his only weak spot is on his head. The head that floated up to the top. And actually, we're going to use a sub-tank real quick, so I'm going to do that. So you'll see that a sub-tank doesn't actually completely refill our health. That's the Storm Tornado. That's the wrong weapon. That was a big waste. And so the way that we get up to his head is by riding these claws as they come down and descend on us like this. These claws actually shoot their own little nonsense at us, too. And then occasionally out of his front face, he'll shoot the this flamethrower. He also will occasionally shoot these spark bolts at us in rapid succession, which is much harder to dodge, in my opinion, than the fire wave. Because if you simply stay to one side, the fire doesn't hit you. And I just keep getting hit because he's not descending his claws at me right now, which is annoying. There we go. You can actually stay on top of them for a little bit, but every time they do that spark blasty thing, they actually shoot it above and below themselves, so they can hit you while you're standing on it, and that's annoying. So unfortunately, this is just a battle where you need to take your time, be careful, take your shots where you can take them. I probably should use a sub-tank here. In fact, yeah, I'm going to do one right now. So I'm not doing super duper hot right now, unfortunately. I'm already 2 sub-tanks down, and he's not even half dead yet. Unfortunately, I keep walking into stuff. I'll be honest, this boss fight, even with all the experience I have of fighting this guy, he's still challenging enough to the point where I have a hard time sometimes. Either because, A, he doesn't do the things he needs to do to let you up here and hit him. Like, he just won't shoot his claws at you very often, as you saw for a little bit there. He's doing a lot more now, but... Or I'll just be dumb and get hit by either those lightning blasts from the claws themselves like that, or something he shoots out of his front will get me instead. And once again, I need a sub-tank. I got one left. Doing pretty good. I think we got him, honestly, as long as I don't keep getting hit. Now, if you don't use the rolling shield, the only other thing that can hurt him is a fully charged pink Buster Blast. And that will do, I think, 1 damage to him. So, yeah, you're better off using the rolling shield simply because it'll take entirely too long to kill him otherwise, in my opinion. The rolling shield at least does 2 damage. Alright, one more hit after this and he's done, so I think we got him. It is possible to dodge that lightning blast he does there. As you saw, I did it at least once or twice, but it's very difficult. Alright, well that's it. That is Sigma done. Not terribly difficult, certainly not the hardest iteration of Sigma in the series, but still a big pain. I am a Reploid, I can't be destroyed by you. Well, technically you were created from me, so how does that mean you can't destroy me? I don't know what this us you're talking about is. Yeah, New World Order, yada yada. Every megalomaniac evil person has always been saying stuff like that. Same old, same old. And there we see Sigma's castle on a floating island is blowing up and falling into the sea, as is the case with every evil maniacal maniac's castle, just kind of blows up and floats into the sea. Very reminiscent of the old Dr. Wily days, in my opinion. And here we get a very, I'm not sure how to explain this little outro sequence here. It's not like a downer or anything, but it's like, really? You get a little deep here, I think. A little deeper than is necessary. So, the war has ended for now, and peace has been restored, but those who sacrifice themselves for the victory will never return. Well, that's technically not true, but we'll get into that later. Exhausted, X gazes at the destruction he helped cause and wonders why he chose to fight. Was there another way? So, this is very reminiscent of what's going to happen to X personality-wise in the later installments of the series. X very much does not enjoy having to fight all the time. He would rather just, you know, have the world be at peace and not have to deal with all this garbage, so he kind of turns into like a pacifist later, and that's really annoying because, I mean, what's the point, right? Because you're going to have to fight, just do it and get it over with. Standing on the cliff, the answers seem to escape him. He only knows that he'll fight the Mavericks again before he finds his answer. Here's where it gets a little cheesy. How long will he keep on fighting? How long will his pain last? Maybe only the X-Buster on his hand knows for sure. Like, really? Come on, that's pretty cheesy if you ask me. Again, I'm not sure why they decided to take this direction with it. It seems that a lot of other accomplices of X certainly don't have any qualms about having to fight all the time. And you'd think if he was fighting for a good cause, which he is, he's fighting for world peace, and he's fighting for a brighter tomorrow, you'd think that would make him feel better about it, but no. All he cares about is, I don't want to fight, fighting's dumb, can't we just be happy and cool together? And he gets really, like, whiny later on about it, too, which is not great, in my opinion. So here we have the cast, and all this is going by stage and telling us the names of all the enemies. Some of them are a little weird. I'm going to be honest, I don't actually know most of the names of the enemies, even though I've seen this a billion times. Some of them are a little hilarious. I think a lot of them are just really weird translations, honestly. Flamingle, like, really? Flamer, very, very bland. Death Rogumer, whatever the crap, I don't even know. Rolling Gabbywool, awesome. Batten Bone, Metul, Sign Faller. What the fruit is a Sign Faller? Jamminger, Ladder Datter, Planty, really? Creeper, that's an original name. Bow Spider, there he is. Rangdabangda, D-Rex, and Velgauder. Those are the last 4 bosses of the Sigma stage. And then we get all the Mavericks and their neat little silhouette portrait background here. So Chill Penguin, Launch Octopus. You've seen all these guys. We beat them a couple times at least each time. You'll also notice that the area that we're running on from right to left here instead of left to right is that same highway, the intro level stage that we walked on, except it's daytime instead of night. And also the road isn't destroyed and on a bunch of different vertical or a bunch of different horizontal planes. I don't know why X doesn't have like a car or something he can get in on the highway to travel faster, or maybe he can just teleport away like he seems to do. But he's not doing that right now. He's just kind of running because, I don't know. So that's all the 8 Mavericks, and then we see Vile. That's the only time his name is ever mentioned, I believe. And then obviously Sigma, who is a big bad guy. And Zero, our buddy Zero. And you as Mega Man X. So this is going to sound like a really nitpicky thing, but maybe someone can help me answer this question. Are all the Mega Man bosses supposed to be like the name, like their thing, and then the word man, right? So like all the old school Mega Man bosses are like Flame Man and Bomb Man and Cut Man. Is it actually like the word and then a space and then the word man, or is it like all one word like Flame Man or Cut Man? Like, because you know, if you notice just there a second ago, Mega Man was one word, and then the word and then X after it. So is it supposed to be 2 separate words, or is it supposed to be one? Because I've seen both, and I don't know which one is the official way to say it. I tend to prefer having the space between the boss name and the word man, because it just looks weird otherwise. But I guess if it's supposed to be one word, I don't know. But maybe it's just a translation thing, who knows. But it's one of those things that always bug me. Like, is it supposed to be one word or no? Is the word Mega Man one word, or is it 2 words? And even with, like, you know, the intro for this game, like the first intro screen we saw, it says it's one word on the intro screen, too. So anyway, thanks for playing. Presented by Capcom. How nice. And that's it, everybody. There's nothing left. There's this ominous TV screen in the background, but obviously it's not doing anything. We don't even know why it's there, really, do we? Who knows? Anyway, so that was Mega Man X. I hope you all enjoyed that. It's been fun. Like I said, I love this game to death. And I'm hoping we're going to go into and do some more of the X series. As I said, X2 and X3 are on the Super Nintendo. X4, 5, and 6 are on the PS1. I actually own the Mega Man X collection. Uh-oh, what's this? Well, that TV wasn't just for nothing. There's no space between that comma and the word X here. Only a temporary body, my spirit remains intact. And what the heck is he talking about his spirit? He's a robot. In time, I will find other bodies strong enough to do my bidding, and I will return. So yeah, that's the thing with Sigma. Every time you defeat Sigma, he somehow manages to survive, because, as he said, his spirit remains intact. And I think with the intention of behind that particular moniker is that, you know, his programming, his consciousness, somehow his brain is, maybe backs himself up, I don't know. But his consciousness is intact, and he just finds a new body to inhabit. And yet, somehow they all look pretty similar. They always have the bald head look here with the big circle in the center and the weird pupilless eyes. and like the big triangular scars on either side of his eye here, as you see. I mean, he always looks something like that. At least his head does. But we get to some very interesting iterations of Sigma in terms of his combat bodies in the later installments. That being said, I think what we're actually going to do is take a step back and move into one of the more... my next favorite X game. I'm probably going to do X4 next. And I know you're like, wait, what about 2 and 3? I'll come back and do 2 and 3. Probably. But 4 is my next favorite one. And in that one, we get to do a lot more other stuff in terms of gameplay. And there's a lot of story stuff that happens in X4. So if you were curious about some of the things that were hinted at or maybe not well explained in this game, X4 will do a lot to assuage your fears with regards to what you're missing. So we'll pick up with X4, I think, next time. But that being said, this is the end of Mega Man X. There's no other ending sequence beyond this one, I promise. That was it. So until next time, thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This has been fun. I'll see you guys next time with X4. Until then, this has been Seraphin. Stay classy, internets.